also known as the after lunch dip, right?
Which is exactly why we put you on here.
So let's try to keep you all awake, and I thought the best way to do that is to have some interaction with people in the panel, with your help. So the idea is that I'm going to raise a few questions to Tom. Actually, I said in the preparation, if I would be a visitor here, I would go home at least knowing how my implementation partner is doing, right? So I'm going to ask him how DC is doing. I'd like to know, things that happen in the market, so we at least get an idea of what's going on. We'll spend a few minutes on that, and then afterwards the two other guys will come on stage, and then we'll ask your help with Mentimeter again. We prepared some questions with multiple choice answers. You can vote. We can look at the screen. We see in real time what's happening. Hopefully you vote fast enough, right? And then I will discuss with the people in the panel what we see. Is it surprisingly or not? Did we expect it? Any suggestions? There's a few simple questions like warming up questions. There's a few with more in-depth idea. Time is limited as always, so we have 45 minutes. So it would be nice to have your support in that. And I think I can already promise you that we can save the data. So in the follow-up that you will get from Jesse and his team, you will also get all the answers that you see on the screen. So there might be one or 2 points where you say, this is an interesting point to discuss with my Dutch boss. You see, most of the customers from DC say the same, or right, things like that, right? When you help. Tom. So one of my first questions, as you are here, the organizer of this event, can you tell us how Dynamics Consultant is doing?
Yes, certainly. I mean, let me correct you there. I'm not really the organiser of this event. I think if I was to take credit for that, I would be shot. Yes, it's been an interesting 5 years. I think, pre-COVID, I think things were predictable. You kind of knew what was going to happen 1 year to the next. I think post-COVID, a lot's changed, and a lot is changing quickly. And certainly in terms of the software and the solutions that we're seeing from Microsoft, it's changing at a quicker rate than it ever has done in the past. I think I'm going to touch on what you mentioned in your earlier session around what is most important. Whilst customers are very important, I very much see next year as important. We probably concentrate more on next year than we do this year. I think if you look at next year and making sure that what you do for next year is the most, next year is as good as you can be, then you're guaranteeing your future. I think if you concentrate on this year and lose track of next year, you might not actually be in business next year.
Okay, still, if I were a customer of your organization, I would sit here. I would be interested to bring home, economically, how is Dynamics Consultant doing? So how was your last year? How was your last 12 months?
Our last 12 months was the best we've ever had. Okay. In terms of revenue, it was the highest. It was, in terms of number of people and getting people on board. We've got a really good team there now. We're looking at our apprentices. We've got a couple of apprentices at the back who have been with us now for the best part of 2 years. They're the consultants of the future. The industry is starved of talent, and I would say that's because we've got the talent in our organisation. But the best way to help with that is use the talent we've got to bring on fresh blood and help deliver that.
I'd say financial health for a company like yours is important for people in the room, because after all, IT becomes more and more important, right? Simple to say, without your ERP system, what would you do? What could you do, right? It's a little bit the pumping heart of your organization. It doesn't pump the blood, but it pumps the information through your organization. So it's important that I think people know that you're in good shape, so that's good to hear. My observation, being active in this channel, is that a lot of partners see phenomenal growth. We see Microsoft, with your choice to point Dynamics 365 Business Central as a successor of NAV, is a good choice, but it also leads to constraints in capacity. So what's the position, what's the situation here?
Yes, certainly capacity is an issue. We've got our ABC solution to help bring, it's a rapid deployment for Business Central. And that really is helping to bring customers on Business Central using lower cost resources, and reducing the time to get that on board. We're also helping other partners as well deliver those solutions, so managed service partners to deliver solutions using our expertise, and really helping Microsoft to deliver more Business Central. Microsoft's ultimate goal is to sell more licenses, and the only way you can do that is to try and deliver solutions more efficiently. The technology has changed, which allows us to reuse and to more importantly upgrade much easier now that people are on Business Central than they ever have done in the past. It's no longer a 20-30 day project to do an upgrade once you're on Business Central. We're now talking it's 2, 3, 4 day projects.
Okay.
And I think that's really going to help relieve some of the capacity. We think there's going to be a bit of a hump for the next 3 to 5 years while people migrate from NAV to Business Central. But when the majority of people are on Business Central, we think that, that those resource constraints will be reduced. Am I scared that we'll be overstaffed at that point in time? Absolutely not. I think with the Power Platform we're seeing, I think the footprint, the volume for Business Central will just grow, and we'll be in a good place to deliver that.
Okay. Other question. What we see is that Microsoft is moving away from delivering single category products, standalone ERP, standalone CRM, standalone modern workplace, into a more integrated approach. Right? Microsoft talks about a platform. For sure, that has an impact on your organization as well, because you have a background as being the implementer of standalone ERP. So how do you anticipate on this changing strategy for Microsoft?
We need to certainly be aware of that. We do partner with CRM partners, and we work very closely with the likes of Qgate, and to deliver on the CRM side. We've got 3 people currently getting their advanced certifications around the Power Platform, and making sure that we're well placed to deliver consultancy and development around the Power Platform. The Power Automate, the Power Apps, and the Power BI that you've seen today. And we're also, Stuart's working very heavily in terms of what our delivery is around add-on solutions, and making sure that we've got a good suite of products to give to our customers.
Okay. Then to the customers in the room, some of them are already in the cloud using Business Central, others are on their way to that, and there's a third group that is still using the well-trusted NAV or Dynamics NAV solution. What's your view on this process of migration? Are you happy with the speed, or any remarks in the process that you see? High level?
At a high level, Microsoft are developing the solution in SaaS. So the innovation, things like artificial intelligence, the Power Platform will work much better in the SaaS environment. Unfortunately, Microsoft don't yet recognise the license investment that on-prem customers have really made. And it would be nice if Microsoft could offer a perpetual discount to those on-prem customers to move to the SaaS environment. I think at some point, there will be an obvious crossover for on-prem to go to SaaS. I got asked earlier when that would be. I don't know. If I knew that, I would be sat here. On the beach, I'd be buying lottery tickets.
Okay. One last question to you specifically before we start with the Mentimeter part. What would be your best advice to people in the room working with Dynamics NAV, with or without customizations? What would be the best thing they could do to prepare for a smooth transition to Business Central if that's what they want?
In any project like this, as you said earlier, it's about people, it's about business processes. Everyone sees IT as a complex piece, but actually the IT side is enabler. It's not, you shouldn't embark on digital transformation for digital transformation's sake. You should be looking at what your vision is as a business, what you need as a business, and use IT to enable that. Just saying we need to transition to the cloud or we need to do digital transformation without actually having a clear goal and a clear direction, you'll end up getting lost. I would also say break it down into small bite-sized chunks. We're still running on-prem for our Business Central. We are looking at moving to the cloud. We do have quite a few changes in our system to enable some improvements in our processes. Our upgrade and transition to the cloud is a reasonably big job. We're doing an on-prem upgrade first, just so that we can start making use of some of the technologies, Power Automate bits and pieces, and then doing a secondary migration to the cloud once we've got the bandwidth to enable that. Don't bite off more than you can chew, but do have a clear roadmap for where you want to go as a business.
Okay, so kind of a step-by-step approach rather than the traditional big bangs.
Yeah, a big bang will just take you a lot longer to implement and a lot longer before you start seeing any value. Have a look at where you want to go. Talk to us about how best to get there.
Okay. Thank you. Can I invite Richard and Simon? Stuart, you're... Okay. So this morning, hopefully you all succeeded in logging in the Mentimeter. If so, then this is the moment to take your phone. So we prepared a bunch of questions. Like I said, some simple ones and some more in depth. And this is the first chapter. And it hooks a bit on the point that I brought up in my presentation this morning about how satisfied are your customers. So the first question is, do you know by any means how satisfied your customers are? And I think the floor is open. Stuart, is that true? Yeah. So yes, we measure frequently and take action. No, not yet, but we should start doing that. No, but we always cross our fingers. It's also a way of doing that. Or we don't have time for things like this, we don't do it. So please share your votes. At least one person is honest, in green at the bottom. Okay, we're 20 out of 27, so 7 of you are still thinking.
No, it's stuck.
It's stuck. Okay. Three. Okay, let's assume this is we're over there. If you are still thinking. So what we see is the majority of you say, yes, we measure this frequently, we take actions on the outcome. Well, like I said before, brilliant group, intelligent people, so this is kind of the answer that I expected. Although there's another group saying not yet, but maybe, I don't know, today will help you sort of realize that it's not bad to do. And then there's a group saying we cross our fingers. Not sure if that helps. We don't have time for things like this. Okay, so like a kind of warming up idea. First question. Can we go to the second one, Stuart? So do you and your team fully understand what digital transformation is? Well, you're in advance because you've learned something this morning maybe, but also your team, your colleagues, the departments, your management team. Does everybody understand what it is? I see there's some pictures. So still counting. So it looks like UK has done it. Who got 7? Something like that. Yeah. So the majority says 36% said yes. But interestingly enough, that's the guy from the kitchen, isn't he? Yeah. Gordon Ramsay. So a little bit less, 32% says no. And then there's a group saying not sure. And 9% loves to go to cinema, apparently. Okay. Tom, are you surprised with this outcome? Use the mic, please.
Not really. I would have expected maybe a few more think it was a Transformer movie, but other than that, no, I think that's somewhere near it. I think digital transformation, I don't think is an exact term anyway. I think it's different things to different people. So I think for there to be a little bit of confusion over it, not at all unexpected.
Okay. Would it be smart to Richard? Would it be smart that DC takes a role in kind of introduction and explaining and helping customers understand what it is and what not?
I'm a bit with Tom in that it means different things to different people. So I think DC being clear about what they mean by digital transformation is very helpful. Really, I think it. Sorry, really, I think it's really a big people challenge actually, and the digital bit, as you said, comes later. So I think it is about more continuous improvement and customer centricity, and I think if that was a message they wanted to take to market, I think that could be helpful. Yeah.
And still, in the 39% that said yes, we're still not sure where the focus is, either on digital or on transformation, right?
Yeah, I think some of the not sure is we know we want to move forward, but is it digital transformation? Is it just business change?
Yeah.
Kind of, who cares?
Narrow definition. Yeah. Okay.
As long as it's changed in the right direction.
Okay. As a warming up question, next one. Number 3, if you are planning to migrate your NAV or BC solution to the cloud, or already have, what will be or what was your approach? Was it A, lift and shift, so take the engine from your Trabant to the new car? Is it B, make small improvements in how we operate today? Or is it number 3, a complete re-implementation based on customer centricity? Simon, it's a more practical question, huh?
Yeah,
less fluffy. And ladies and gentlemen, all answers are good answers, right? There's no specifically good or bad. It's a result of a choice you make. Could the help desk help you with your phone?
Yes, I'm sorry.
22, 23. It's a difficult question for some. No? Ask her. Or the help desk in the back, maybe. Okay, so let's say 23. So what we see, most people say we make some small improvements in how we operate today, and then equal lift and shift together with re-implementation. Simon, what's your, let's say, experience so far?
So we actually did this just over 12 months ago with DC, moving to the cloud-based platform.
Yep.
We were moving from a different product rather than the NAV on-premise or legacy NAV product. And we looked at a bit between the small improvements and the complete re-implementation. So yeah, very much I started with a blank piece of paper. We needed a new system. The system we had didn't give us what we needed for the next 5 years plus, and so we started with a blank piece of paper. And I think probably the key thing for us was all around scope of works and functional requirements. But always in the back of my mind I want to do this once. I think anyone who's been through a new finance or new software implementation, you don't want to be doing it again 3 years from now, 5 years once. So it was about looking at the product and thinking about it of, will it still be here in 10, 15 and 20 years time? How do you build it in such a way that it doesn't need reinventing 5 years down the line because you've missed the mark with regards to the product?
It sounds reasonable if you say it this way, right? Start with a blank piece of paper and start thinking. But that's maybe easier said than done, because didn't you have pushback from people saying, why should we change? We always did it this way. And how did you handle the pushbacks?
Yeah, people are resistant to change. So I think we talked about it earlier on in the event today. It's about bringing people on board from an early stage. So understanding your stakeholders, not just within your own team, but across the business, and engaging with them from the outset to discuss what the vision is, what the business requirement is, but at an individual level, so that those people can understand that you are investing something that they have a say on and can feel benefit from in the short, medium and long term.
Richard, your experience with that? Because you moved from NAV to PC on-premise, right?
So we're about halfway through doing that, and this is probably I must be a sucker for punishment because this is about the third time I've done that in different businesses. And it's been a very similar process actually of understanding, working with people, often because we've got no choice but to change. So what are the processes? Let's understand where we'd like to be, try and work with people to get them to come along, often getting some continuous improvement going, and just trying to be very mindful. I always use the analogy of squeezing a tube of toothpaste. Are we just squashing some work out of somebody's role and it's surprising going to pop up somewhere else? Or have you taken the lid off so when you actually push some work out, it's gone? And it takes a lot of time working with people before you get to technology to find processes that are genuinely more efficient across the whole organisation. And it is a whole organisation project.
Yep. Okay. Next question. How do you feel about development regarding your digital transformation project? So we talk about software development customizations. Option A, stick to the standard of Business Central. What was option B? That was one. Customize the software so it fits your current processes, or stay as close as possible to the standard and add extensions, standard components. And I will watch your noses carefully, right? Like I said before.
Me too, me too.
You need another option. What would it be?
Um,
The missing option is?
It's to fit the business needs. So, yeah, you don't always want to stick with the standard. I don't know the business to actually do that.
So you take the yellow one then?
It's a bit in between the two, like a bit different.
But that's life. That's life. We have to make choices, right?
I agree. I agree completely with that. I think you need to look at your processes and the solution together, and as you say, implement something. Implement something that suits your business needs. Standard. Stay as close to standard as possible. If standard doesn't suit your business needs, then by all means put an add-on solution or change it, but look at your process while doing that, and make sure that you're doing it for business value and with good intentions in mind. If you look at some of the disrupting businesses in the world, they, Amazon, Uber, etc., they haven't got where they are by doing the same as everyone else. They put in solutions that fit their business vision and their business goals.
Okay, I agree with that, but let me give some pushback. I did a management buyout in 1994 together with 3 guys. And we took out part of former Philips, the light bulb company from the Netherlands, with an IT division, and we went on our own. And we had a bookkeeper who was growing up in Philips, and there was always IT department. It took always years, but you could ask everything, you could get it in the end, right? So he was spoiled with customizations. Our first management team, he knocked on the door, he was not part of the management team, and he said, we're implementing a small, simple system because we had to get up and running in 3 months. And he says he wanted to change something in the accounting system. Not sure what, maybe he wanted to switch debit and credit, I don't know what it was. So we said, what's the cost, Lou? And he said, it's only 10,000 guilders. A lot of money by that time. So we said, why don't you make, it sounds fair enough, why don't you make a small piece of paper, a small memo, and tell us how long it will take until we win 10,001 guilder. So what's our payback time? Well, you guess what the story is. He never came back. So, I agree with what you say, Tom, but I also see in my practice, a lot of customizations are there because I like it, because the product can do it, because I don't want to change, because my father did it this way. So what I see is that more and more companies that say, I know we got customizations, but those were the customizations from like 5 or 10 years ago when the world was different. My youngest son would say, when 10 years ago when the air was dirty and the sex was okay, but I didn't say that. So things changed over time, and it makes sense to re-evaluate. Is it still relevant? Is it still a unique point? Does it still make ourselves unique? Any feedback on that? If you take the mic?
No, I mean, I agree with that. I think you shouldn't just make modifications for modification's sake. You've got to have a business benefit for that. There's got to be a return on investment on that because ultimately there will be an ongoing cost for that as well.
Okay, we go to the next question, Stuart. We're doing fine, right? So, this setting. Okay, about organizational change. What is the name of your digital transformation project? If you already have a name. It could also be your migration to Business Central. It could also be your installing a new ERP system. Is the name just ERP? Is it the digital transformation project? Is it a name that is linked to your company strategy? Or option D, why do we need a specific project name? Pictures are good, no? So we're 20 plus. 26. So Simon, if you look at this slide, my question to you would be, what was the name of your project when you started migrating?
It's a very good question. I'm not sure I know the answer to that, if I'm absolutely honest. Either
you forgot it or there was no specific name?
I don't think we gave it a specific name.
Okay.
I don't think there was a need for a requirement for it at that point in time. What I can say is we knew what the project was. We knew what we were trying to get out of it. We made sure we had the right sponsor within the business to make sure it was implemented correctly. I come from a telecoms industry. We come from the telecoms industry. Everything's a 3-letter acronym. Everything's got to have a name for it. Sometimes it's for the sake of names. So I guess I possibly pushed against it because you don't need to have a name for everything. I'm just being honest. So.
No, it's okay. I like that. Richard, with your 3 projects, did you have 3 different names?
Well, if I think about the one we're doing at the moment, that is broadly called the NAV upgrade, I think. However, there are 4 or 5 different work streams. So manufacturing improvement is one, customer experience is another. And so the overarching project doesn't have a name, but the name that we give to the particular work stream is probably more relevant to the people who are in it, which is about how do we drive that improvement through the business. And I think that helps the people understand that it's tied to the strategy that we've outlined already. I think there's another question that we'll get to in a minute about how did we launch it, and it ties into some of that. So there is value that people understand they're adding value to their particular area.
Yeah. Okay, question to Tom with the microphone. do you believe that it helps a customer if the project has an appealing, relevant, business-related project name? What do you say in your observation? No difference.
I don't think it really makes much of a difference. I think digital transformation, as I said, is an enabler for your business objectives, your business goals. You'll probably sit here, and most people probably don't have a digital transformation project as such. They've probably got a set of goals they want to achieve. A steady digital transformation helps achieve those goals.
Okay. My personal observation, ladies and gentlemen, is that many projects, if they have a name, it's a IT-related name, often with 3 letters, right? So let's call our ERP project the ERP project. Well, it makes sense because it's an ERP project. We gave it the name of the product, the NAV project or the BC project. I think it's all fine. What I see is that if you give it a technically oriented name, people in your organization will hear, it's just another IT project because it has an IT name. And if I'm not in the IT department, I would sit like this and say, well, congratulations, Michelle, if you're the IT manager. Good luck with your project. It's not mine, right? I'm not, and if it problems, it's your problem, it's not mine. And I'm just wondering if it is about transformation, putting the customers first, being picky on bad processes and try to improve it. I would say we should try to mobilize all the ideas and all the energy that we have. And then I would say, if you connect your project name with your company strategy, I think there's a few examples, a few benefits. First one, your strategy of your company doesn't sound like an IT project, so people will not do this. Second point, if you connect with your strategy, you make sure that everybody in the board understands the name of your project, because hopefully everybody in the board understands business strategy. If not, you have a problem. And the third one, maybe also interesting, most implementation projects seems to stop once you go live. Because then it's business as normal, then we're done. But you're not done because then you got 8, 10, 12, 20 years to use it. So if you connect it to your strategy, the theme of your project is still alive, right? Think about it. Right? See some people, maybe something to think about. Not giving it a name or a name that doesn't mean anything you might lose some of the effects that I just tried to bring up. And then I believe that in a steering committee for a modern project, please bring somebody from marketing. I'm not sure how big or small you are, but if we said communication is important, people don't need to understand. We need to do a kickoff, maybe newsletters. So you have somebody in your team, maybe interim, that understands communication, that understands marketing, helps you to sell the change message internally, to share the low-hanging fruit, the quick wins, right? And you might tend to forget that if you say it's a technical project, it's called ERP 2.0, right? We do it as we always do. Stuart, the next one. How are you engaging with your organization for the change mindset? You send out a newsletter that tells them to change ASAP, ask the CEO to deliver a speech, invite all departments to make plans. Nothing yet. Let's see what's happening. Come with your votes, please. Newsletter is not so popular so far, as we can see. But the CEO speech looks like a good one. Can we squeeze a bit more out of your votes? You're all done? More or less? So Simon, if we look here, number 1, ask the CEO to deliver a speech, is pretty close on spot number 1, together with inviting all departments to make plans. What did you do in your organization to get people open for change?
We engaged all departments. So the system touched all departments across our business. So I mean, we've talked a lot about customers today, and customers are your revenue stream, but customers can also be the stakeholders across your whole business, the people you're interacting with day to day, they're still your customers. So yeah, we engaged with all departments, discussed what we were doing, showing them the benefits, so they were on board. So at the point that the software was actually being rolled out, they were already engaged to that change.
Did you then show them the benefits of the system, or did you show the system?
Showed the benefits of the system. So obviously, ultimately, you can't have the cast of 5,000 voting on whether the software is the right software. You've got to choose the right software, but then show the benefits for the business across the whole business.
What's your best learning from this process when it comes to getting people to have an open mindset on change? Any advice for the audience?
God, I mean, asking people's opinion is dangerous.
Why?
Because sometimes if you've got a negative mindset in the room, they're difficult to break down. But absolutely asking people's opinions probably was the bit that we did, or I certainly did, because then you've got them engaged in the change. To a certain extent, they may think that the idea you implemented is their idea, and therefore they're more likely to come along for the journey. So yeah, asking for their opinion is key. Telling people what to do, you're not going to get very far.
Top down is not effective.
Not at all. Why are you recruiting smart people and then tell them what to do?
But that's the point, right? If you look at your advertisement, if you say we're looking for somebody who say stubborn, intelligent, think for your own, but now we implement something, you say sit down, shut up, and do what I say. Does that make sense? So if you say there might be some negative response, better to say it, because then you know. Otherwise, the negatives are around the coffee machine. Because if people are negative, they will spread that at some place, right?
They're better to be heard than not be heard.
I would say you benefit from people that are so-called negative because they might have good points. Planning is too short or whatever, right? So listening to concerns that people have might help you to improve your plan.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Richard, your experiences with it? Did you deliver speeches in your implementations?
We did a lot of one and a lot of two. So we did have a kick-off, but actually before we embarked on digital transformation, we actually started a continuous improvement plan. So we've been doing continuous improvement, getting the team involved in continuous improvement, probably for 2.5 years before we started looking at how do you do something digital.
So separate from the software.
Yeah, separate from the software. So actually getting the team into the mindset of making small incremental improvements took a lot of work. It was a big culture change. But what that's meant is that people are now putting their hand up and saying, we've got a problem here, we've got a problem there. We're doing a lot of stuff outside of the system. Could we, as we're starting to think about a new system, be doing that in the system? So yeah, first step was we told people that we were good with doing continuous improvements and a whole lot of people on training. Then we worked with departments to deliver that continuous improvement mindset. And only once we'd got that culture change embedded did we really get into software.
Okay. So what you say is, if you follow this road, you can start preparing long before software selection, or long before software is in place for a migration.
Yeah, I think that's right, and I think ultimately, whatever it is you're trying to do in your business, it's going to be a people thing. So getting your team and all of your employees into a mindset that change is good and is likely to make their lives long-term better and easier, or whatever it is that you're looking at. If you can get that into the culture and the mindset of your team, then any change program you're trying to do, be it digital or otherwise, is going to go far easier.
Nice. Interesting, my observation is that if we say we ask the MD to do a speech, I'm not sure how many MDs we got in the room, But my observation is that one of the biggest bottlenecks in change in organizations is living on the highest floor as the MD, him or herself. Honestly. Right? So I coach MDs if they do kickoff on what they have to say themselves and not. And they sometimes say, Guus, can you do that? I can talk a lot, you learned that today. But I go away, right? I have a plane and I'm gone. So I say to the CEO, you're the MD, these 5 things are really something that you must say. So if you want people to change, it only has an effect if you talk about your own changes as well. And I see a lot of MDs that talk to their people like I did this morning on the chair, I want you to change. But then if the consultant comes, they say, can you make the report like this because I work with this format for like the last 20 years. In other words, I don't want to change. Everybody else has to change. I found there's an interesting one. How do you tell the MD, if they're not open for them automatically, how do you get them showing their vulnerability and their own change experience? Because then it's really authentic. Stuart, can we get to the next one? More questions. Katrine starts staring at me. What are the main goals of your digital transformation initiative? Or if you want, your ERP implementation? Saving costs, staying in time and budget, become a customer-centric organization, or switch to a new business model?
Your
You
service
have difficult issues, you might want to do
is
2
more
or
valuable,
3.
it's worth more.
You have to do
Provided
that,
that doesn't cost significantly more to deliver, then I think you want to win it. I think it's not all about saving the pennies, it's about making them as well.
Question also is if you answered, was it your own IT? Tom, an interesting observation is that do you represent the goal of your own organization goes to saving costs? Simon, your the accounting department, happy with the outcome? Thinking about cost.
Yeah, I mean,
Cost savings
it's
by professional running.
certainly one of the
How do you look at
factors.
these answers?
I would have.
Yeah, I mean,
The second
we all
one
want to
there,
save money.
customer
So
centric
saving costs, I totally get why
is also
everyone said that. And
very
yeah, I mean,
important.
saving costs comes in lots of
Going back to
forms,
what
right?
we
You
said
can
earlier about
spend
experience,
a reasonable amount of money on the software,
Digital
that might be a big
transformation,
expense up
there
front,
should
but that
be there,
investment brings you cost savings
to help
over time, and
get
obviously drives
a better customer
better
experience
revenue.
and
I think
add value.
certainly from
It's
Toob's point of
probably
view,
more important to add
um,
value than it is to save
the
costs.
main goals were simplicity
you're
and
adding value.
scalability. And I think you put a simple product in, make sure it's a scalable product. I think probably you can tick all 4 of those and 5 or 6 other metrics over the course of time with regards to your transformation product.
For myself, I would say, if you say saving costs or becoming a more customer-centric organization, it's more on the revenue side. You want to pump up your revenue, you want to save your cost, right? And maybe you can do both at the same time. At least it would help your internal discussion that you have with your management team and your MD, if you're not the MD. Where do we put the focus? Right? Is it on the cost-saving part, or is it on improving revenue and winning more customers? And I can't say what's good for your business, that's something you have to figure out yourself. But it's interesting, there's more ways and more, let's say, routes towards a result. Can we get to the next one? And is this the last part? Is the future in the cloud? So where do you expect the most software innovation in the next 3 to 5 years? Is it in on-premise, Dynamics NAV? Is it in SaaS, Dynamics 365 Business Central Cloud? Or will it be equally in both versions? So where do you think Microsoft is going to put her R&D dollars? Looks like only one button is working and the other 2 are not.
It seems people have been listening. I spoke to them.
So Tom, most of your customers say we expect most innovation, and the word most might be a bit tricky, right? Because there's still an opening for innovation in the other side, but the big majority says we expect it in SaaS.
I think that's fairly safe to say that it will be in the SaaS version. Whilst the Business Central and the SaaS
version saying that the on-prem and the SaaS version share the same code base. Things like AI, Power Platform, all those bits and pieces of integration around Business Central will be cloud first, without doubt. None of the AI stuff that Microsoft will implement will work on-prem because they'll be looking at running the AI in their cloud, and they'll be talking to your ERP solution in their cloud, and it's the only way it will really work. So most of it will be in the SaaS.
My observation again, that's not just Microsoft. What we see is all the vendors all over the place know that the future is in SaaS, or seem to know, so they will maintain their current systems, but the magic is happening on the side of R&D. I see the same with partners. If partners lose a consultant, lose a developer, and they hire a new one, fresh from university, most of them don't train them in NAV anymore for obvious reasons, right? So the workforce from partners also is moving towards cloud. And what I see, and have seen also with other vendors, is that it's good for yourself to know, if you're still in the on-premise world, how much time will it take? If you would say, we start a selection process today, a preparation process, how much time will it take your organization to come to a point where you say, yes, we make the next step? Is it 2 weeks? Is it 1 day? Is it 6 months? And what's the expected time for you to implement? And make it simple, if it's 6 months to prepare and 6 months to implement, it means that if you decide today to go to the cloud, you hopefully still can work for 12 months with the on-premise version. If you not decide today, most of you are not planned to take a decision, then it's 12 months plus a day, a week, a month, whatever. So it's always good, I think, to count back. And of course, if you work in NAV and all is fine and nothing's missing and you can do without, but I think that's the situation where you have to look at. Being too early, being too fast is not always good. Being late or too late is not attractive either, right? I see the ship is moving with SAP, with Oracle, right, with Microsoft. That's what the industry is doing. I think we got one or two more. What obstacles do you have regarding digital transformation? So where's the resistance? The board buy-in and strategy, resistance with employees, IT resistance, or we are too busy with other things? Give me your votes, please. The one was last. That's the one that last. Catherine starts staring at me. What do you want? You know, yeah. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, so one but last, so push the buttons, give us your votes. Look, 24 out of 24, we got a 100% score. So what obstacles do you have regarding digital transformation? What holds you back? Mixed answers, Richard. What do you think? If you look at these answers, looks like the majority, more than half, says we're too busy.
And I'm not surprised by that. In an implementation that we're doing at the moment, we had to have I think it was about a 6-month pause because we had a bit of turnover in people. And it's fair to say that doing a project like this takes, in our business, probably 2 full-time equivalents. And when we had a bit of churn in staff, and recruitment in the UK has been absolutely horrible for the last year, we had to build the staff back before we could really properly focus